many people out there have been speculating on, that Meghan Markle has lied about her age. Is she actually older?
They say age is just a number, but in Meghan Markle's story, that number might be a total illusion. According to royal biographer Tom Bower, Meghan's official life timeline doesn't just have a few gaps. It might have been rewritten entirely. The woman who sold the world on a tale of transformation may have quietly edited one of the most basic details of all, her own birthday.
They want to hide their secrets, and I just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to know.
Think about it. Meghan has reinvented herself more times than Hollywood can count. First, the fresh-faced actress, then the royal rule-breaker, next the world's misunderstood humanitarian, and finally, the self-made survivor. Every chapter designed to fit a new audience, a new era, a new sympathy card. But what if the biggest transformation was never about personality? It was about paperwork. The clue? A forgotten 1997 issue of 17 magazine, where a glowing young Meghan was listed as 21 years old. If that's true, then her real age today wouldn't be 44. It'd be pushing 50. That tiny little number flip changes everything. Her early auditions, her supposed college years, even the carefully staged royal fairy tale timeline suddenly start looking suspicious.
This is a copy of 17 magazine that was published in March of 1997. In it, it mentions our Megzy from Los Angeles and that she was 21 years old at the time of publication. That would make her birth year at around 1976.
So now the question burns. Was this an innocent typo, a PR mistake, or a full-blown Hollywood rewrite of reality? Because if Tom Bower's claim holds up, Meghan's biggest acting role might not have been Suits. It might have been her own age. But hold on, because it gets even crazier.
How can you get your age so wrong?
Meghan's own father claims her childhood memories never lined up with the version she told the world. Insiders from Hollywood whisper that she shaved off a few years to fit that perfect casting mold, while the palace, as usual, stays completely silent. That silence speaks louder than any statement, because once you start pulling the thread on Meghan's timeline, everything begins to unravel. Every photo, every birthday, every flawless smile starts to feel rehearsed, like it was part of a decades-long performance. So get ready, because what we're about to uncover is wilder than any Netflix plot twist. This isn't just another round of celebrity gossip. It's a full-blown royal mystery that plays out like a chronological crime scene. Dates don't match, stories overlap, and the pieces just don't add up. By the end of this, you'll be asking yourself one thing. If Meghan Markle's age isn't real, what else in her story might be staged? Was this all a PR illusion, or just another ruthless media hit job designed to tear her down?
This gentleman right here, that's Nick Jones, the original founder of Soho House. Guess where he's going there? He's arriving at Meghan Markle and Harry's wedding as guest of honor. Oh yeah, Soho was present there.
It didn't start with a palace leak or a shady insider email. It all began with a glossy page buried deep inside a 1997 issue of 17 magazine. Right there, staring back with that signature smirk, was a young Meghan Markle described as a 21-year-old student from Los Angeles. Sounds harmless, right? Until you realize that in 1997, according to her official records, she should have been just 16. That single printed number flipped the internet upside down. Overnight, Reddit threads became royal detective agencies, fans turned into digital investigators, and timelines started to crumble under the pressure of basic math. Even Tom Bower couldn't ignore it, saying bluntly, "The math doesn't lie, the birth year does." And he wasn't joking. If that magazine was accurate, Meghan wasn't born in 1981 at all.
And you're wondering, why does her age matter at all? Because her age would also have an impact on her ability to have children. Because if Meghan Markle is 4 years older than what we have been led to believe, it makes it even more difficult to believe that she was able to get pregnant so quickly.
But somewhere closer to 1975 or 1976. That means when she was landing her first big breaks, she wasn't a rising 20-something at all. She was already entering her 30s. And in Hollywood, that's a game changer. Age isn't just a number there. It's currency, it's status, it's the difference between being next up and being quietly replaced. So the rumor mill says Meghan's team did what any sharp PR mind would, gave her story a creative edit. Not a full-on fabrication, just a careful rewrite to make her shine a little longer under the spotlight. And here's where it gets wild. The 17 issue in question mysteriously vanished. No retraction, no correction, no explanation. Copies gone from archives, links wiped clean, as if someone wanted to erase one tiny but dangerous detail before Buckingham Palace ever noticed. But here's where things spiral completely out of control. Because Meghan's father, Thomas Markle, says he remembers his daughter being in her 20s long before that 17 magazine issue ever existed.
And that ridiculous story about how they first met. The whole thing was a tissue of inaccuracies, to be polite.
And if that's true, the story doesn't just bend, it snaps clean in half. Thomas's version of events doesn't sound like bitter gossip. It sounds like a man replaying memories that don't match the official royal script. If the 17 magazine clue was the first crack in the wall, Thomas's testimony is the sledgehammer that took it down. He didn't just raise Meghan, he remembers her. And his recollection of her timeline looks nothing like the one printed on glossy palace letterhead. In interviews, Thomas has made claims that even hardened royal reporters found shocking. He said Meghan was already working full-time when she supposedly should have still been in school. He described birthdays, graduations, and family milestones that just don't line up with the public version of her life. And when he saw her official birth year splashed across royal biographies, he reportedly couldn't believe it. Now, let's be real. Thomas Markle isn't exactly invited to tea at Buckingham Palace, but even his critics admit the man has receipts.
August 4th, 40 years ago, Meghan was born.
Her father claims that she was born in 1981. So if she was born in 1981 when Yasmin did that commercial, and like in 1997, she would have been 16 years of age, not 13.
Old photos, school forms, employment records, and stacks of small but telling details that quietly suggest Meghan may have lived a few extra chapters before her so-called Hollywood debut. And here's the jaw-dropper. Multiple neighbors from her old Los Angeles block have backed up his story. One told a tabloid, "She was always older than she said. We just didn't care. She was ambitious." That single line blew up online, sparking what fans now call Agegate. Because if her own father and neighbors are hinting that Meghan's timeline was edited, then what else in her carefully curated royal fairy tale might have been retouched for the cameras? One thing's certain, something's not adding up. The math's off, the memories clash, and her entire walk down memory lane seems to have a broken Jeep. And if you think that was wild, wait until you see how Hollywood allegedly helped her pull it off. Before Meghan Markle ever set foot in a palace, her true power wasn't charm, it was rebranding. Somehow, she convinced Hollywood that she was a fresh new face on the rise, when insiders claim she might have already been blowing out candles for her 30th birthday. That's not luck, that's strategy. Let's be real.
So there is something that is not connecting. There is something that is not right.
Hollywood treats age like it's a secret weapon. One wrong number and you're out. Actresses don't just lose roles for bad auditions, they lose them for bad birth dates. The industry worships the 20-somethings, wide-eyed, energetic, new discovery types, while the 30-somethings get told to sit behind the camera instead. So when Meghan's resume mysteriously shed a few years, sources say it wasn't an accident. It was a perfectly timed PR move. She knew exactly how the game worked. Casting directors crave the illusion of untapped talent, and Meghan sold that dream flawlessly, smiling, polished, pretending to be just starting out, when in reality she'd been hustling for nearly a decade.
Never mind the hysterectomy stories that her family have told, but that would make it more difficult because that would make Meghan Markle near 50.
By the time Suits turned her into a household name, she wasn't some fresh-faced graduate chasing her first big break. She was a seasoned player, finally stepping into the spotlight she'd been working toward for years. And here's where it gets even juicier. Old agency bios and acting databases once listed different birth years for her until they suddenly vanished. Updated, deleted, wiped clean right before her royal romance became public. Coincidence? Or a perfectly timed digital detox to erase inconvenient math? Because by the time Meghan walked down that aisle, the world didn't see a 40-something actress with a decade of grind behind her. They saw a 30-something Cinderella. Meghan didn't just play Hollywood's game, she mastered it, then carried that same playbook straight into Buckingham Palace. When the crown meets the casting call, the truth always leaks through the cracks. And in Meghan's case, those cracks are turning into full-blown craters. When she stepped into the royal spotlight,
I was just 11 years old. I unknowingly and somehow accidentally became a female advocate. A pivotal moment reshaped my notion of what is possible.
She claims that she was 13 years of age when she started to work for Humphrey Yogurt, in spite of the fact that Humphrey Yogurt has said that they have never employed anybody aged 13.
The world assumed she'd left Hollywood behind for good, but she didn't abandon the game. She upgraded it. Meghan brought her entire Hollywood PR playbook straight into Buckingham Palace, and suddenly even royal staff couldn't tell what was authentic and what had been revised for image clarity. Here's where things get royally strange. Meghan's official timeline, the one proudly displayed on Buckingham Palace's website and echoed across glossy press releases, began quietly changing. Biographies were rewritten, age references deleted, archived interviews gone, articles about her early life and pre-royal career mysteriously edited and in some cases replaced with cold 404 pages. Researchers and royal sleuths who went digging into her past found gaps big enough to fit a royal carriage through. Old charity records, acting resumes, even alumni notes from her supposed college years all showed strange inconsistencies. Events that should have happened when she was 22 had documents dated 6 years earlier. It was like trying to solve a puzzle where half the pieces were airbrushed into perfection. Tom Bower didn't hold back either. He described Meghan's official biography as a polished production with missing scenes. Translation? Someone's been editing the royal script, and this time, not with palace permission. But here's the part that blows it all wide open. While the palace has perfected silence, they've never mastered the internet. Every deleted article, every adjusted date, every missing bio leaves behind a digital fingerprint, and royal watchers have traced those fingerprints one by one, all leading straight back to Meghan's PR machine. Because behind those grand palace gates, one thing's becoming clear. This isn't just a royal love story anymore. It's a full-scale production, written, directed, and edited by Meghan herself.
Jeffrey Epstein was also Harvey Weinstein, very prominent. There were members. Meghan Markle was just one of the working girls for Soho House. Call girl, working girl, escort, whatever you want to call it. That's what she was.
This wasn't just a royal love story. It was a launch campaign. When you mix royal protocol with Hollywood editing, you don't get authenticity. You get fiction dressed in Dior. And just wait, because the next chapter doesn't just bend timelines. It starts tampering with biology itself. What happens next makes those age rumors look like warm-up gossip. Every fairy tale needs a perfect ending, and for Meghan, that ending came wrapped in royal silk. Baby Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor, the symbol of her happily ever after. But behind that perfect palace photo op, the story of Archie's birth reads less like a medical report and more like a high-budget Netflix script polished by a crisis PR squad. According to official palace statements, everything went flawlessly. Glowing mother, proud father, discreet hospital, calm delivery, no chaos. But whispers behind the velvet curtains told a completely different story. Tom Bower and even a few hospital insiders allegedly hinted that something didn't quite add up. They questioned how Meghan managed 2 epidurals, a lightning-fast labor, and a same-day hospital exit from a top security ward that normally keeps new mothers under watch for at least 48 hours. One nurse reportedly joked, "That timeline moved faster than the royal motorcade." And then came the infamous photos. Meghan, radiant in heels, smiling on the palace steps just 2 days later. Fans called it miraculous, but skeptics couldn't help calling it mathematically suspicious. Because when every minute of your pregnancy seems perfectly timed for cameras, every pose perfectly lit, every quote perfectly rehearsed,
I mean, everybody has seen that commercial. It clearly starts with, when I'm Meghan Markle, I'm 12 years old. So what is going on here? Why the secrecy around this woman's birth certificate? Why the mistakes in age that are so blatant for others?
people stop seeing it as a maternal moment and start seeing it as a production. The question now isn't if the story was controlled, it's how much of it was scripted. Because in Meghan's world, even motherhood might have been part of the show. And the questions didn't stop there. The secrecy surrounding Archie's birth certificate, the sudden disappearance of medical details, and the suspiciously inconsistent travel reports, all of it screamed cover-up. Every no comment from the palace sounded louder than an actual confession. If this was truly the happiest royal moment in decades, why did it feel more like a classified operation than a celebration? Maybe this wasn't about privacy. It was about control. Control of the image, the timing, and yes, the age narrative that tied every chapter together. Because when the royal fairy tale doesn't fit the facts, you don't rewrite the facts, you rewrite the story. And Meghan, once again, proved she's the best editor in the business. Tom Bower even said it himself. She has mastered the art of image manipulation, turning reality into marketing gold. Then came the wildest rumors yet.
What if Meghan Markle was adopted? What if there more to her birth than just her age? Could it be that she doesn't know her own age because she's been lied to by her father and mother? Could it be that's why Doria doesn't have a bond with Meghan Markle? Because what mother leaves her daughter when she's 3 or 4 years?
People online began questioning everything. Some claimed her children weren't real. Others said they look AI generated. Absurd? Maybe. But the fact that those whispers even exist shows how blurred her narrative has become. Because if even her motherhood timeline bends reality, what does that say about the empire she's built since? By the time Meghan crossed the Atlantic, she wasn't just marrying a prince, She was sealing a business deal. From the moment that engagement ring caught the camera's flash, her Hollywood instincts came roaring back. This wasn't about tiaras, it was about trademarks. Every move felt calculated. 1 week, she's the humble outsider surviving royal rejection. The next, she's the fearless activist redefining the crown. Every outfit, every candid walkabout, every soft focus interview, it all looked straight out of a Beverly Hills PR manual. Insiders even have a name for it now: the Markle method, a system built on control, charisma, and constant reinvention, where even a royal baby becomes part of the brand. Turn every headline, good or bad, into a character arc. That's the secret of the Markle method. Criticism becomes courage, mistakes morph into misunderstandings, and silence transforms into a strategic pause that invites sympathy. When public opinion starts to dip, cue the charity photo op or the surprise podcast drop. Even that infamous Oprah interview, it felt less like a raw confession and more like a masterclass in content strategy. The lighting, the tone, the pacing, nothing about it was accidental.
He describes her very well, and he does this by taking a look.
Absolute media manipulation. But I thought tonight this was really ridiculous.
People think her kids are fake. They think they're AI.
Meghan wasn't being interviewed that night. She was relaunching. She shed her Royal Highness title, the same way a brand ditches a failed logo. Out went the palace press officers. In came the Hollywood production team, the new podcast, the Netflix docuseries. Each one another chapter in the global rollout of Meghan 2.0. But here's the twist. The harder she polished that image, the more cracks began to show underneath it. The internet didn't buy the Saint Act. Viewers could smell the spin. Because when every move feels rehearsed and every emotion seems planned, authenticity evaporates faster than royal approval ratings. Meghan didn't just leave the monarchy, she monetized it. The Duchess turned into a full-blown startup, and the product wasn't a dress, a brand, or a cause. It was herself. But there's one rule every PR empire eventually learns: you can't edit reality forever. Sooner or later, the audience demands the uncut version. And when the dust finally settles on Meghan Markle's rewritten timeline, one truth stands tall: the palace didn't silence her story. She scripted it herself. Now the question burns: does this make her the ultimate PR genius, or the most calculated royal manipulator of our time? Drop your thoughts below, because every missing year, every suspicious headline, every error that somehow aged in her favor, all point to the same chilling conclusion. Meghan wasn't living a royal romance, she was producing it. Every scene had retakes, edits, and lighting good enough for a movie premiere.
That she arrived in London, full career, single girl, wasn't interested. Of course, she'd been coming to London since 2013, hunting for a man to marry. She wanted an Englishman. She was on a man now.
The palace stayed silent, the press tore itself apart, and the world couldn't look away. Because no matter how messy it gets, Meghan Markle remains the most talked about woman to ever walk out of Windsor Castle with a headline waiting at her heels. But remember this: silence doesn't mean truth. It just means someone's still writing the script. And if even half of Tom Bower's claims hold weight, Meghan's royal fairy tale isn't cracked. It's sitting on a stage built from pure fiction. So don't blink now, because the story's far from over. The deeper you dig, the more contradictions spill out. Timelines, disappearances, rebrands, rewrites. Meghan didn't just join the royal family. She franchised it. The Duchess turned her crown into content, and the line between royalty and reality TV has never been thinner. This isn't just gossip, it's strategy. And as long as cameras roll, her story keeps evolving with every headline, every silence, every no comment. So what do you think? Is Meghan the ultimate PR genius or the most polished illusion of our time? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, smash that subscribe button, and turn on notifications, because on Tea Torch, we don't sip tea, we pour it hot. See you in the next one.